and welcome to another episode of Bokeh and Mocha. I'm Chris here with Jen, and Griff is over at our tech station right now, working alongside with our technical director, Abigail, who are bringing you another episode of Bokeh and Mocha. I'm so excited to be here for episode number 3.
So am I.
You ready for this?
Yes, what are we discussing today?
Well, I don't know if you can tell, but we kind of filled our table up here with tech and everything and equipment.
Yes.
So today's episode is pretty much going to be, do I need it? What do I need to get started? And different types of equipment that we have to work with. I know we've got quite a bit of equipment to touch. Again, our first episodes are pretty much just the mile view, looking down to see everything there. But you're brand new in photography,
Yes.
So I'm assuming that seeing all the price tags are kind of sticker shock for you.
It can be concerning. There's sometimes ways to get around it from what I've found, but there's other times it's like, you know what, I might need the more professional things for this go around.
And we're having technical issues over here again. We got this. As one of the things as well, as you just said, making things work. We are using the equipment that we already have to be able to make these episodes. So there are some limitations. We're using regular cameras that we have, so they have timeout features, and it seems like our timeout features don't always correlate with our podcasts themselves. But I mean, that's one of the things as a photographer, we need to learn how to use the equipment we have versus let's just go buy the next thing.
Yes.
So one of the things that we talk about, you'll hear me all the time saying, you can shoot that with a kit lens. Do you know what a kit lens is?
Not off the top of my head.
Well, I'm glad we can be able to help educate. So a kit lens comes with the camera. It's a part of the kit. This is typically an 18 millimeter to a 55 millimeter. It's 3.5 aperture is the lowest it will go, but it's designed to just, you turn on the camera and take pictures. For those who are old enough to be in the film era, we remember the 35 millimeter film version. This is what we would work with cameras. It's kind of that close size to it. So if you buy your camera, you've got a Rebel, I believe a T6, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
An excellent DSLR to start out with because you get some of those features to work with. I do want to also remind anybody who's listening or watching our podcast, none of the equipment that we have here is a sponsorship. This is stuff that we have purchased or have actually owned ourselves and what we tend to use. We have no sponsorships on this episode at all. This is just natural what we go through. So, and anybody who's listening might disagree with what we're saying. That's fine. That's the wonderful world of photography. We can build it to the way we want it for us.
Right.
So when you start out with photography, you have a camera, you have a kit lens, you have a telephoto lens as well.
Yes, the longer one.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what my aunt had whenever I purchased the camera from her. She had the kit lens and, like you said, the telephoto lens. And the only thing I think I've had to buy for my camera is my carrying bag and my polarizing lens so that I can shoot photography during the day so that I don't fry anything in my camera, because my aunt told me to get one of those in order to be able to do anything outside.
Oh, yes. Well, congratulations. You do have the what you need to get started portion as our first segment. All you need is a camera that can click a shutter. For me, I teach photography classes. You've assisted me in teaching some photography classes here in Hayes. I teach manual mode photography, which means only cameras that have the capability where you can change the aperture, the shutter speed, and the ISO to create that exposure triangle. And you don't have to start with that. You can start with your phone. You can start with a point and shoot for those who still know what those are. And then you can move into DSLRs where you can change the lenses out. You don't have to start with the next new $10,000 camera body and $8,000 lens just to be able to get started. Go down to Walmart and pick up a camera that they have over there. It'll get you going. And the whole idea of photography is to go with what you can afford.
Right.
And I mean, all the stuff that we have here, I didn't buy all this in one day. I've been doing this for 15 years.
And so, Chris, to touch on what you need, because I do classes on street photography.
Yep.
And I will accept people coming in with their cell phones. Yep. If it's got a shutter, if it can take a picture, that's really what's overall important to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the best part, bringing that up too. If you already have a smartphone, which there's not a lot of people that don't have smartphones, and even now the flip phones have good cameras installed in them. It's not like it was back in the 90s when I grew up, where the camera was
2000s.
half a megapixel.
Oh, God.
Now some of the flip phones actually have sensors that are as good as our DSLRs in some cases, and smartphones can take some incredible photography.
Yes,
the whole idea to get started is just to get out and capture those pictures. And not getting too technical, this can kind of be more of a distraction than what it would normally would be as just going out and getting the pictures.
Right.
I mean, I believe one of the ones that you said you took was just with a camera phone.
Yeah.
And it's, I believe it was our sunset picture when we were out on the lake.
Yes.
And that picture is just, it's awe-inspiring, and it was taken with a phone.
Yep.
So you don't need a lot to get started. But when we come back from our break, we're going to actually discuss a little more about the equipment and where we can get some of this equipment on a budget kind of deal. We don't all have that money for it, but I think Griff's going to be joining me on this next segment, and we'll get into some more of those details coming up here on Bokeh and Mocha. Welcome back to Bokeh and Mocha. We're still having a little bit of technical stuff that we're going through, which is still good on our learning.
They can't see that.
I know, but
it's bothering us, though.
we'll get there. This is only episode 3. So on this segment of the episode, we're going to be discussing a lot more of where we get our stuff from. Mm-hmm. I know that you and I actually have different places that we can both buy equipment from.
Okay, well, to be fair, for me, like, because I bought the initial equipment and I just wanted to make sure that everything was uniform and I didn't know what I was looking for with that. But yeah, like buying used, buying refurbished is always a viable option, and it's a very good financially stable option, because if you've seen some of the prices on camera equipment, or camera bodies for that matter as well too. Again, we are not a sponsored show. This is not a sponsored segment. This is just personally where we have gotten our stuff from. When I switched over to mirrorless, I wanted to make sure that everything was uniform, that the lenses fit with the camera that I got, because I still hadn't gotten into that nitty gritty of reading the ring sizes and stuff like that. So I bought all new just simply because it was recommended. Well, it wasn't recommended that way. It was, for me, the easiest way to get into. But now that I know how to measure a ring size, how to measure, the mount and stuff like that, now I recommend buying used and new. And as somebody who had worked in electronics retail as well too, the biggest complaint that I heard from customers was like, you sold me a refurbished item. That means that it was broken at one point. And it's like, yes, it was broken at one point. There was something wrong with it. Mm-hmm. But guess what? It has now been like taken apart and fixed thoroughly. Probably, I actually recommend buying refurbished more than new, because when you buy new, it's all assembly line. There's, whatever is wrong with it when it comes off of the conveyor belt is what's wrong with it. Versus refurbished, they are actually taking the time to go through that thing with a fine-tooth comb to make sure. So
and refurbish also can mean it just missed a screw, and they had to just add a new screw to it.
Yeah,
and that's literally it. Mm-hmm. Granted, we'd never get to know what was wrong with it to begin with, but at the same time, for
Is there a Carvana for camera equipment?
Carfax.
Or
That's what we
Carfax,
need.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, we need a camera fax.
Yep,
So
there we go.
someone else out there can make a brand new $1 million idea now, right there.
Exactly.
Camera fax. Now, for me, I actually have gone the used route because sometimes some equipment, like lenses, particular, if you get some good taking care of your lenses, you can actually get some really good deals on used. I go with a website called MPB as my primary one for used camera equipment. You can buy used bodies, and the used bodies that actually not the one here, but the one we're actually using on our broadcast is bought from there. It tells you how many activations the shutter has gone through, how much life is left into it. MPB actually takes photos of that particular piece that they're selling, and they get graded and checked and rechecked before it even goes out to the consumer to purchase that. And my 90D that I purchased from them, if I would have bought that brand new, would have cost me over $3,000 to buy that camera when I was working with it. Granted, they're not that much now. They've come down quite a bit ever since this is now not the newest model.
Right.
I end up getting my 90D for less than $800 when I was working with that. This lens here, same thing. Now, the other thing too, do we buy or do we rent? That's and renting lenses and equipment can be scary sometimes. I think you've had experience of renting before too, correct?
Not with lenses. No,
Not with lenses.
I've rented space is what I've rented.
That's what it was. See, I've done rental lenses. This particular one, this is my Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter. When I'm looking at used $1,000, that's quite a penny to be able to drop onto a lens. I didn't know if it was actually going to do what I wanted it to do. So I went ahead and went to lensrentals.com. Again, no sponsorship for any of these. But I went to lensrentals.com and I rented the lens for a week, and it cost me $85 to rent the lens for a week just to see, number one, does it fit my camera? Number two, is this going to be too big of a lens or not what I need to work with? I was looking at the lens because I wanted to do the solar eclipse. I didn't know if that 600 millimeters was going to be enough for looking at the sun. Now, granted, I had to go and buy all the safety equipment first, get the polarized filter, and not just a polarized filter, very specific solar filter that would go on the front of the lens, just to be able to make sure that I don't burn out the lens or even worse, the camera sensor.
Because effectively speaking, you're mounting a magnifying glass, multiple magnifying glasses on front of your camera.
And you're hoping that it doesn't damage your camera and pointing it directly at the sun.
You're basically making your camera into the ant that you're burning on the sidewalk.
But so I had to purchase all that equipment ahead of time before I got the lens, but tested out with that lens after a week. I'm like, yep, that's what I'm going to do. And I ended up buying this lens, and I still have it 3 years later used. And when you go through it, I got to see this was in excellent condition. There was no scratches, there was no damage to the lens, and there's nothing wrong with the lens. There's nothing on the glass itself. There was a few cosmetics on the lens, but you and I know that you can't always keep it pristine.
And to touch on that, I've got 2 points real quick before we break away. But my absolute favorite lens is still on my old camera that I still have. I gave it to my son instead, but I did not give him this lens because he's not quite ready for actual expensive lenses. But I have, because I'm a portrait photographer, I shoot a lot of 85. 85 millimeter is my personal preference. And when I was shopping for 85s, I went the used route on that one, just simply because 85s, especially on old DSLRs, are still fairly expensive. I got one, I think it was like it was refurbished, and it was from like the early 2000s or something like that. Technically speaking, it's vintage at this point, which makes me weep a little bit. But it is still my favorite lens that I use, and I can't use it on my kit. Well, I could if I buy the adapter for it, but I don't know. I kind of want to keep things the way they are in a way, but I still have that lens, and was like, it would have been, I think, $1,000 new. It was $200 used, kind of thing. So yeah, it was great.
Now I will say this: your 85 millimeter lens, I have typically use prime lenses.
Mhm.
The only prime lens I have is a 24 millimeter
Mhm.
dedicated 2.1
Mhm.
f-stop lens that I use specifically for my star trails, my astrophotography star trails.
Yeah.
I will say you've actually inspired me to start looking at the 85 millimeter prime lenses.
It's good.
And
It's good.
I'm starting to go down that rabbit hole of looking into buying a lens for that, specifically for my senior pictures that I do.
Mhm.
So even as someone who's been in the business for 15 years, anybody can come in and be able to learn more from it, and
Mhm.
that's where I really like to be a part of something like this, because I never would have looked at an 85 millimeter till I saw you using one and saying, "Oh, I could do that."
Mhm.
And of course, I have to go the extra route. Now I'm looking at the art lens of
Mhm.
all things. And for those who don't know, art lenses are better glass, better f-stop or better aperture ratios in there. So they come with a very hefty price tag compared to a normal.
When I first started photography, from every photographer that I talked to, they said the money is in the lens.
Yes,
That's
absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Well, I think we're going to have to end that segment here on that note. But next up, I believe you and Jen are going to be talking about, do I need those certain accessories?
We're going to wax and wane philosophically for you guys for a few minutes. That's coming up next on the Bokeh and Mocha podcast. Welcome back to the Bokeh and Mocha podcast, segment 3, episode 3, where we ask the question, do I need all of this?
Right.
Short answer, probably not.
Yeah.
So, also short answer, but slightly longer, maybe. It all depends on what specifically that you're going to be looking at. In the previous segment, Chris was, Christopher, who is mostly a landscape wildlife astrophotographer, versus me as a portrait photographer. For me as a portrait photographer, prime lenses are the golden boys, the nifty 50s, the 85s, sometimes jumping up to a 100 as well too. But I have no need for a telephoto zoom lens. I have one just because I like to get out and occasionally shoot some wildlife and stuff like that. But realistically speaking, if I sold my 100 to 400, I would still be able to just keep chugging along. Right. Versus Christopher, of course, needing the telephoto for specifically what he does. I don't need a drone to do portrait photography, but if I wanted to do real estate photography, I probably would want to invest in a drone. For me, it's more about lighting than anything else. So Genevieve, behind you, you've got a softbox that's partially in frame. That's what we call consistent lighting. Or constant lighting, if I remember correctly. Yep, constant lighting. And then on this camera over here, we've got what's called a speed light. Or off-camera flash. There's also some cameras that have internal flashes. So for me as a portrait photographer, I would use the constant lighting to kind of set everything up, but then add that extra pop by adding in the on-camera or off-camera flash as well too. The other thing that I would use, and I would use this over a flash as well too. This is a reflector and refractor. It's a multi thing there. We've got the gold side facing out here. On the other side, there is a white side as well, and they reflect light into the subject. So if you're shooting outside and maybe you don't have a flash or you just want to add a little bit of glow to them, they make some of these that have a silver reflector on it, and you can use that to make the subject pop a little bit more as well too. And then this also opens up into a diffuser. So if you have a subject that's looking directly into the sun and they're having to squint to keep their eyes open, you can use it to diffuse the light so they can keep their eyes open, and you can still get a good picture. Now, for me, probably the best thing that you would buy, if you were asking what do we need to get into photography, aside from a camera, I mean, you can do a lot with natural light and whatnot. You don't need all of this extra stuff. What I would recommend that you need is a strap. a really good
Agreed.
strap. Whether it's the one that connects to your hand, whether it's the one that dangles off of around your neck, like you're a tourist, and I'm bumping the mic, like you're like a tourist overseas, or one of the ones that like straps it to you. I've got, I think, probably a good $2,000 invested in just my camera body alone. And then you add in the extra lenses, which we said in the previous segment that the money is in the lenses. You add that on, all of that is just kept safe with I went ahead and like splurged a little bit and bought like a $75 to $100 actual leather strap that fits me comfortably. But if you boil it down, that $100 is what's keeping you from losing $2,000 or so plus.
Right.
So, yeah.
I know my strap is just the basic one that I got in my bag.
Mhm.
So whenever I bought my bag, it came with like a strap and everything. And I just use that for my camera. And it's just one of those simple nylon straps, like what you have on the back of your backpack.
Yep.
And I mean, it still gets the job done. Would I like to have a leather strap? Probably some point in the future. But, if I bump the mic, like you said, I mean, that strap holds up X amount of money that you could lose if you drop it.
Or if you're in like a city that might have like a kind of a poorer reputation kind of thing too, it takes a little bit more effort to cut through a leather strap than it does a nylon strap and whatnot too. Not that I'm saying that like all places are bad or anything like that, but it's something that you got to keep in mind while you do that. I have a crap load of prime lenses, so I also have a camera backpack that I use for when I'm traveling for all of those lenses. But for example, when I go out and do street photography, I'm not wanting to lug that entire thing around with me.
Right.
So instead, I decide that morning, am I going for more wide 35 millimeter? I want to capture a story, or am I going to be focusing more on subjects? And then do I swap that out for a nifty 50 or an 85? So I can, zone in on that. That's the thing. Like I've spent a lot of money on lenses because I shoot primes and I need a different lens for different lengths and different things. But but to answer the question, do you need this? No, you can start your photography journey with a kit lens and be perfectly fine. The only thing that you have to be aware of is with the kit lenses, they don't usually have the best glass, and they also don't have the best f-stop range as well too. I think my kit lens like bottomed out at like 4.8 or something like that. And when you're doing portrait photography, you probably need to like go down to like a 2 or something along those lines at least to get that really big bokeh pop, if you will. So, and speaking of the Bokeh and Mocha podcast, so, but yeah, Jen, do you have any like trepidations as somebody who is starting off on the photography journey, like any questions, anything like that, any concerns? Because you're looking at probably one of the most expensive hobbies that you could ever get into.
Oh yeah. And I kind of knew that as soon as I got my camera. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be dropping a lot of money on this. And I've thought about dabbling in Flash a little bit, but I was mainly going to do that for like if I was outside at night or if I was inside my house and all the lights were off. But I mean, I don't know if there's people out there that'll take pictures whenever the power goes out. I mean, I feel like there's other stuff that's on your mind in that moment. But I guess what I'm going to get at is like, what do you think is the most important piece of equipment starting out for, other than the camera itself and your kit lens?
I mean, like I said, I think probably the best investment I had was my strap. That was probably the best investment. As far as but to answer your question, it depends on what you're wanting to get into when you do photography, because it all depends on, like, so if you're doing macro photography, your lighting's going to be different than if you're doing portrait photography. If you're just wanting to do landscape, I mean, you're probably not going to use your flash while you're
Right.
photographing like a deer out in nature, because it's not going to reach that far. You should probably be more investing in like a telephoto lens so you can get that distance without getting up close and spooking them and everything.
Right.
So it all depends, but I mean, realistically speaking, like probably the best the best investment that you can make is in yourself as a photographer. That's what you need more than anything else. Whenever I was a hobbyist and starting to get into it, I just did the research. I took the Skillshare courses, again, not sponsored, and just learned how to do that. And that was the passion kind of thing. So, but there you go.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for episode 3 of the Bokeh and Mocha podcast. Again, thank you so much for listening. Our next episode, we're going to be going into more of the details of photography itself and getting into the nitty gritty, actually learning how to do all of these different shots, all of these different things. And that all starts with the exposure triangle. That's on the next episode of the Bokeh and Mocha podcast. Until then, keep shooting, keep sharing. Thank you very much.